It is October 2023. We're into our third set of Nipigon Narrations, and this morning we're going to talk with Helen Rhodes. And Helen has been here decades and has a lot of information to share with us. But I want to start, Helen, by telling us how you got to come to Nipigon.
Well, I'm from Hornpain, and Jerry, my husband, was from Cochrane, and he worked in Hornpain, so that's how we met. And then he bid on a job in Nipigon at the CN office. He was roadmaster's clerk because he was teaching 2 years prior to that, and then went back to school and got his business or college degree in that. And so he came to Nipigon then in June of 51, and we got married in August of 51.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been...
So that was the CN station, for those who don't know, would have been down Newton Street, just opposite where the plywood mill would have been.
They had a house there with a shed on the side for luggage and stuff, and they had a little two-room, a little building behind that, and that's where the roadmaster's clerk would work.
Okay.
You know, so he went always on the gas car with what's his name, R.V. Kuzito.
Okay.
Yeah. So when he bid on the job, he didn't think he'd get it, you know, but he thought, well, it's better to bid on a job and as if you're interested in the business, and he got it. So we had to pack up the house we had in Hornpain that he was living in, and we moved here. And I moved here after we got married.
So about how long do you think he worked for the CN?
He worked 9 years for the CN and 31 years teaching. And
so tell me that little bit, how he went from the roadmaster to the teacher.
Well, he was teaching before. He taught 1 year in Resort, close to Hearst.
Okay.
And then he went to a little village outside of Cochrane. And then it was too hard on his health. He was an asthmatic, so it was too hard. So he went back to school in Toronto when he took Shaw's Business College.
Okay.
And then when he worked, went to school in the daytime and worked in the evening at Shaw's, some restaurant, he was a short order cook, you know. And then, of course, he got a job in Hornpain on the railroad, so he was file clerk.
Okay.
And then he bid to come to Nipigon and got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And tell me now, where was Jerry originally from?
Cochrane.
Oh, from Cochrane area. So you're both from the northern area.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you first came to Nipigon, where did you live, Helen?
Well, we couldn't find a place. There was nothing to rent or buy even here.
Sounds familiar, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So we had a room and a half at Everettville, and it was so cold. And Jerry worked part-time for Mr. Everett, you know, just with whatever he needed done, you know. And then it was too hard. He'd bicycle to work from Everettville down by the station, and I stayed there in a freezing building. And then we moved to Sunnyside Cabins, the double cabin on the top
I
for the
lived there
winter.
when I was first married.
We were
Anyway,
there too.
Just to remind people that Everettville was a group of houses up by the Petro that were moved from Cameron and Pine Portage by Mr. Everett. And so that conglomeration was called Everettville. It had a few streets there, lots of houses.
Yes.
And it provided lots of good homes for people who were starting out.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
So you stayed in Sunnyside Cabins.
Yeah, for the winter, and then in May we had to move from there because of the tourist industry, and so we went and lived in a basement room on Newton Street, Anna Kowalczuk's place. But it was a year of damp weather, rain, and we built the house. And as Jerry was working at the CN, there were two fellows from Poland that their background was building carpentry. But not carpentry, it was masonry.
Oh, masonry.
So the fellow said to Jerry that, well, I'll teach you how to pour cement and block it and all the information on it, but your wife has to feed us. So I cooked on a hot plate. I had a roast pan with a dish inside and water, and I cooked the roast there. Then I had another container on top of that, and I had my vegetables and everything there. And I fed those two fellows.
But that was a pretty good deal.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
But the basement of our home, I mean, it's a large house.
Mm-hmm.
The basement of the home is cement blocks, and the main floor is cinder blocks.
Okay.
So they taught Jerry how to do all that, and then he started doing it himself. Mm-hmm. He says, I've never built a house in my life. So then when we had a fire, the lightning hit the house, he says, honey, don't worry. He says, that's why I built it out of blocks. That, it won't all burn down to the ground.
Oh,
I know.
Oh, my.
Oh, it was a nightmare, but yeah.
So Jerry kind of designed his own house?
No, we had to have a certain size house, and then they changed it all after that to the houses from Cameron Falls and Pine Portage.
Right.
But we got a what do you call it? Draft for the house,
okay.
And he followed that.
Okay.
And then when the lightning hit the house and we had fire damage, eventually one of my neighbors, Maria Scavenger's uncle, came from Winnipeg, and during the day he built the house, the top story.
Okay.
And I had two boys in high school. They'd come home after school and they would go upstairs and help their dad. So they built part of the house then after.
So now name off your kids for us.
My oldest one is Gerald, Walter Gerald. He's 71. And my next one is Alan Victor. He's going to be 70. My daughter Catherine Elaine is going to be 66. And Daniel Robert is going to be 61 in November. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had 4 children, you and Jerry, but I know very well you took in boarders.
We took in boarders. Yeah, we had boarders, in a single room and a little apartment.
Right.
We had 2 hockey players, twin boys, living with us, and then Irene Sallow lived with us for a little while. Yeah, and then my aunt, when her husband died in Orient Bay, he worked on the CN, and she lived with us for a while. And it was funny when he first built the house. We started building it in May, a long weekend, and my uncle died in July. So of course, being in a company building, you had to leave right away. So the CN men moved all her things to the other end of the house, into the living room, and with tarps on top. And then she went to Sault Ste. Marie for the funeral and stuff, and then came back and lived with us for a while, and finished coffee bread and gingerbread man for the boys, and
all those good things.
Yeah, I had the two older ones then.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, so that's a few years ago.
Oh.
Very busy times.
Yes.
Right. So once Jerry started teaching, he automatically was teaching at the separate school?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can you remember, like, when he first started, was he teaching young kids, old kids?
He taught, I think, was middle-aged children, grade 4 or 5,
Okay.
in Nipigon. And the funniest part, I'll go back a little bit, when Jerry's job was being abolished at the CN, we would have to either change jobs, or we had to move to Allendale and finally out because he was the youngest man on the totem pole.
Right.
You know. So anyway, he said he liked teaching, so he wanted to go back to it. So he wrote away, and they sent him a letter saying that if he can get a letter of recommendation from Resor that he taught successfully there, after 2 years he'd receive his permanent teaching certificate. So he did, but then of course with us having children, so he was going to school and I was home with children. I was going to go back to work, but I couldn't with the two of them. But then he worked 9 years on the railroad, 31 years teaching. 15 of that was a principal.
And was always at St. Edward's.
Yes.
Always St.
No,
Edward's.
no, he was part-time after he gave up principalship.
Oh.
He went to St. Hilary's in Red Rock.
Okay.
He didn't think it was fair for the new principal to have the old one under his belt.
Right.
No, it wouldn't be fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
he was right here all the whole time anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now, in the meantime, tell me how you got into the ceramic business.
Well, I belong to the Nipigon Red Rock Handcraft Guild, and one of the members, she did ceramics with her father in the States, Eileen Percudia, and so the guild, Handcraft Guild, wanted ceramic classes and stuff, and Eileen wasn't confident in doing it by herself, so I said, oh well, I'll go with you. So we went to Thunder Bay and we took classes and exams and yeah, and we did very well. She got 99, I got 98. I've never did ceramics before, but that started the getting together with the Handcraft Guild. And she then taught at home for a lot of people, and I taught for the high school.
Oh, okay.
Not special, what is it called?
I have no idea.
Options.
Electives or options?
Yeah,
yes,
something
right.
like
Okay.
that. Yeah. And
It would be along the side of the arts
yes,
in the high school.
So Eileen taught as well, and so we would swap greenware, raw clay, and we fired. And
right. Who had the first kiln?
Pardon?
Who had the first kiln then?
Oh, Eileen did.
She did, eh?
Yeah. But I bought a business from Marathon, a small business from Marathon, so I got kilns, and they were older, but I got kilns from there.
Right.
And I ended up by having 3,000 molds in the end. But I started teaching in 1978, and I had my Irma Duncan Award from Duncan Enterprises. Yeah.
So because I was commenting to Kirsten earlier that there's hardly a house in Nipigon that doesn't have one piece of ceramics or pottery from Helen Rhodes, whether it be done by yourself or purchased. But yeah,
well, Jerry did pottery. I did ceramics.
But everybody wanted to be doing those things because
we had
they
fun.
were so interesting.
We had fun.
Right.
I mean, anyone in business, like the nurses at the hospital or the CEO, would come down and we'd have an evening of crafts, and they didn't have to worry about work.
Right.
They just had fun.
Right.
So
you actually taught, I'm thinking, ceramics in the schools.
Oh yes.
In the hospital.
Yes.
And at home.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you went other places as well, but I know people came.
Well, I taught for teachers. They had a workshop once at George O'Neill, and I was invited to demonstrate and teach ceramics.
Because I remember going to your house myself. And
yes.
People, Girl Guides for one.
Oh yeah.
Went there.
Yeah.
And then I've got pictures of them doing ceramics at St. Edward's.
And handicapped.
Oh, and
I did that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who had experience
with
ceramics.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I taught at the time when the Handcraft Guild started. It was Gert Cantley that started it all, and in was it 1960? 64? I'm not sure. I can't remember anymore. Getting old, you know. So we got monies from the rec center, but we had to go to Thunder Bay and take courses on crafts of any kind, be it leather, be it whatever, and we'd have to come back here and teach it.
Okay.
For nothing.
Right.
You know,
right.
which is fine,
Right.
which is fair, you know, but.
So you had Eileen had the kiln for ceramics.
Yes.
But Gert had the one for pottery?
Yes, it was a salt glaze.
Okay.
That was built during our handcraft guild.
Right.
And we had a potter from down east, and he came down and helped build the kiln.
Okay.
And the shelving and stuff like that. And then it was iodized salt that you threw into the kiln to oxidize the pottery.
So before we go to the handcraft, what do you think one of the more popular ceramic molds were that you...
Trees.
The trees. I knew you were going to say those Christmas trees. Oh.
And it's still popular and everybody's wanting them now.
I know. I see that's come around again, hasn't it?
Definitely.
Yes.
Trees were. And every year I would buy extra molds of interest for the students I had.
Right.
You know, we'd look through the catalog and I'd order a few of them. So I was keeping my stock up, you know.
I can remember coming and buying light bulbs you for the Christmas trees because I'd lose a couple of those little bulbs. And,
We'll get some more now before I get rid of them all.
Yes, I guess I should because I'm still using my tree every Christmas.
Yes.
So, I figured you were going to. I just wanted to think that was interesting.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So now, part and parcel of your ceramics, as you said, was the Handcraft Guild.
Yes.
So maybe, how much time we got there, Kristen?
About 2.5 minutes.
Okay, so we'll wait then. But I'm just thinking that the Handcraft Guild is a really interesting topic because it fanned out to so many other things that happened, as you said, from the leather work to the ceramics to the knitting to everything. I see with your nice sweater on that we did. So once we hit that we'll change and talk about the Handcraft Guild. Very, very important society in Nipigon and Red Rock.
Oh, yes,
Right.
definitely.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
fun.
Kirsten. So we're going to continue talking to Helen, and we're going to switch a little bit, and she's going to talk to us about how the Nipigon Red Rock Handcraft Guild began in the area.
Yeah. Well, it was actually Gert Cantley that started it in her home. And then she decided to have a craft show. And artists from around Nipigon and Red Rock were invited to put a table, and they demonstrated crafts. They had the whole Elks Hall was filled with artisans. There was Ray Dupuy with his fly tying, and Gert with her different things. She did a lot of felt work and different small ornaments, as well as flower arranging and stuff like that. And then Impy Pink was very, very involved, and of course her two daughters, and after, you know, and I was there for as one of the artists, and I was pregnant with my youngest son, Danny, and that was late fall that we had this craft show. And the other side of the Elks, they had coffee and tea and goodies, you know, and they had pictures, and that started it all. And then it moved to our homes.
Okay. So just to go back for a second, the Elks Hall would then be the original Elks Hall that was across from the present hardware store.
Yes.
And then, unfortunately, disaster there, and it burnt down.
Yeah.
And so the hall that is there now is the Delico Center.
Delico,
but
yeah.
it was the Elks Hall there.
Yes.
But you're talking the very first one
Oh,
with the
definitely.
two sides, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well, then craft shows, or crafts, I just think there were so many. That was a way of bringing everybody together. And
That's
so
right.
many
And
different
if you
ones.
see a demonstration of stuff, it's easier to learn how to do it.
Right,
You know,
or to interest you.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then we started in our homes, and of course my home was big, so a lot of it was there. And then we were able to go to the public school, George O'Neill School, for a while. And then we got to going to St. Ed's. We were able to have it for nothing, you know, and so it was great. But we had a basketry, we had Toronto, we had upholstery, we had knitting,
Hat
crochet,
making.
millinery. We
Yeah.
took quite a few courses in millinery, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, you name it, we tried it, you
Yeah,
know. Moccasin making, and Jerry taught the basketry and the leather work,
Right.
but he always dabbled in anything I was doing.
That was perfect because you had the two of you feed off each other.
Oh,
on what
definitely.
you were doing.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So I just thinking of it was almost a weekly thing, wasn't it?
yes, every Wednesday night.
Every Wednesday night. So
Yeah.
that was a big commitment
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Oh, definitely.
To come every week
Yeah.
and be active in the crafts.
And then I was asked by St. Edward's School to come in once a week and on a Wednesday, and I taught crafts there, free, naturally. I
Right.
was a volunteer,
Right.
but with Roland, and I did quilting with the kids, and tapestry, and macrame, and
Just think, Helen Macrame is coming around again.
it
I
is.
see it at a few sales. Some
It
girls
is.
locally
Yeah,
are doing
yeah.
macrame. Yeah.
I did you saw the table I
Yeah.
was doing. I got
Yeah.
the second one just about done now.
Yeah.
But it takes me too long to do anything anymore.
But the macrame was very popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a
But
good one.
we had and then the museum wanted some poke bonnets with a back flap, you know, and so Roland says, okay, got some material, and got some sewing machines, and I had an old treadle. And so Roland picked it up and brought it to school, and two of the boys said, we're working on that machine, and that was it. So one was hands on the foot pedal, and the other one was sewing. It was really funny.
Right.
But there was no boys and girls, they all did everything.
Right.
It was fun.
Right.
And then we took the kids from St. Ed's to Beardmore, and my kids from the St. Ed's taught the kids in Beardmore crafts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Expands, right?
Yeah, so I had to choose which students I wanted to take with me, and you know, so.
But I remember St. Ed's having electives
Oh, definitely.
and several times, and so the kids really had a full day almost of an item, and that's where you really learn it in depth when you've got a
Yes.
long time to be able to do it.
Yes.
But the electives was very popular.
Very
at
popular,
St. Ed's.
you know.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
It was fun.
yes, and then of course you taught crafts at the hospital.
I started the craft program in 1968, the centennial year. The Handcraft Guild decided to give a hospital a crafts person, you know, and so myself, and there was another lady from Red Rock, I can't remember her name now, you know, but we worked together. And then Ilona Langtang came years later, and she helped me, and my goddaughter, what's her name? Forget.
Delane? Delane? No?
No. Her husband was a teacher in St. Ed's. Laurie McCluskey.
Oh, McCloskey. Okay.
Yeah, she was at the hospital. And we taught everything at an Indian beadwork, and we got, embroidery and whatever anybody wanted.
So were you
to
teaching just the acute care people, or
anyone in the hospital?
anyone in the hospital
Yeah.
could have it?
We made teddy bears for Toronto Sick Kids Hospital there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a pattern from you,
Right.
from the Grow Guides.
Yeah.
And we made 25 teddy bears for the 25th anniversary of the Guild.
Oh my.
Yeah, and my son, Alan, the second son, he worked there. And so he came home and he picked up 25 teddy bears to bring back to Toronto.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you people really got involved in every aspect of people's interest in town, because everybody's got a little bit different interest in a hobby.
That's right.
And
Well,
so
I would ask them that, what did you do when you were at home? What was your interest? Is there something that you want to learn how to do? If I could learn how to do it, I would teach you.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Right.
I would check what they like to do.
Right. Right.
Not push what I wanted them to do.
Right.
But we did a lot of paperwork and easy crafts, depending on what the situation was with the patient.
Right.
But I taught there for 50 years.
Wow. And people who are watching this must know that Helen never drove. So
No.
Helen walked many, many, many miles, not kilometers, but many, many miles to get to those places.
Yes,
I can
did.
remember you walking
Yeah.
To those places, Helen.
But
So-
then when it was too much for me to walk, then my husband Jerry always took me.
Right.
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 Or then if a volunteer like Laurie would pick me up and take
Right.
me,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So
I think the people at the hospital really appreciated it. I'm sure the nurses did too, because it gave the patients another outlet than
Yes.
sitting in
Yeah.
bed and
well,
nothing to do.
I'd go. The old hospital when we started, I used to have an old metal bassinet that I put all the crafts in there, because I had to go before the new one was built. I had to go from room to room.
Oh, okay.
So I had to bring on supplies, what I needed with me,
Right.
Yeah, so it was kind of difficult. And then, of course, I had a room of my own there for a while, and then they kept on moving me from one spot to the other at the hospital.
So you were there quite a while in a day, because if you had to go room to room, that was taking a lot of time.
Oh, yes,
One
definitely.
person at a time.
Yes.
Right. Right. Wow.
Well, some people didn't want to do it.
Right.
That was fine. They
Right.
didn't have to. But I can remember when I did some loom work, with doilies and stuff like that. One of the patients, her husband says, "I'll make you some frames, Helen." So he made me extra frames, octagon frames or
Right.
something like that, and to get this woman would go home after she got out of hospital, and she said made a tablecloth and a bedspread, and it was great.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Nice.
I
nice.
feel kind of neat.
Yeah. So
Just-
can you name a few people, or can you remember from the Handcraft Guild? I know that Gert was one of those.
Gert, Ibby, Ilona, Langtang, Ilona Drum, Eiley.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. Was Eileen Bercunia part of that as well?
Oh yes,
Right.
definitely, yeah. And oh God, there's so
Who
many.
was from Red Rock then? Well, Ilona Langtang was
Yeah,
from Red Rock. Okay,
yes,
so you
yeah.
got Red Rock and Nipigon
Yes.
there.
yeah.
Did you ever meet in Red Rock to do the crafts?
No.
Oh,
No.
interesting, eh?
Yeah. No.
Oh, always was in Nipigon,
Yeah.
which was fortunate.
And I was mostly invited to St. Ed's and St. Hilary's.
Right,
I went to there. I would go anywhere,
right,
but
Yeah.
they had other programs,
Right.
in different places. So
Yeah, well, that was good, because I just remember that being a big part of the 60s, 70s, early 80s, right?
Yeah.
For all of the things that they did. And then I always used to get the horticulture mixed up with the handcraft because the horticultural people were also part of the handcraft
exactly.
guild, right?
Yeah.
And so when you went to a horticulture one, they're making handcraft because they're making wreaths or something.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
the
yeah.
two of them were very
we
much
were-
hand in hand for some of their
Exactly,
programs, right?
And
and
Lorraine
Gert, of course,
Kosky
was
used
at.
to teach crocheting. you know.
Okay.
So other people, and L.V. Schwazla was very
right.
involved as well
Right,
with me.
right.
Yeah.
So that's both of they were in both
Yes.
of them. So that's I guess why I put them together almost, Helen, because lots of times the programs seem to be running side by
Oh,
side.
definitely.
and with
definitely.
what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. A lot of fun. A lot of memories.
I was just gonna say too, and I think I remember you had men taking the handcrafts. It wasn't just ladies.
Oh, and it was meant to. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Right. I can remember the upholstery
Oh, yeah.
having the men come in and do that as well.
Well, we got programs from Con College.
Oh, okay.
So I worked with Con College. We had Ukrainian embroidery and Easter eggs. We had upholstery. We had Chinese cooking,
Oh,
and stuff like that. Yeah. So, it was,
encompassed a
so
lot
we,
of
we
areas.
the Handcraft Guild worked with Con College, and I did the taking the names and the money, and I turned it over to Con College, and
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Also, you paid through them then
Yes.
to take the programs.
yes,
Interesting.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So, why do you think the Handcraft Guild petered out?
The old people were tired, and they weren't doing many crafts anymore, and the young people didn't get involved too much with it,
Okay.
and it just sort of, just like everything else, it peters out and then it comes back.
Right.
Like right now, macrame is coming back,
Again. Right.
and knitting was sort of dulled there for a while, and then it came back,
Right.
and smocking,
And now, when you go to a craft show, my gosh, it's amazing, isn't it, what people are doing?
Well,
and
it's
the craft.
different.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
it's
different,
different.
but still amazing to see the skills of some people,
Yeah.
Helen.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
But the materials are different.
Right.
But some of the, like tatting and all of that, those are old
things,
crafts.
right.
But they're coming back.
Right,
They always come back.
right, right.
Yeah.
Just and the one now that's a few years now though from the knitting is the felting.
Felting.
An
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
transition for me to see from the knitting of slippers to the felting of slippers. Amazing, amazing.
You knit something and you felt it.
Yes.
But there's also the felting that you do with a needle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could make birds and all kinds of things by just having this long felting needle, and you have your base pattern, and you keep on pouncing it so that it's felting it.
Oh, interesting.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, there's so many
yeah.
different things, but I just am amazed when I go to the craft show now, the skills, and as you say, everything is changing.
Yes.
But some things are coming back, which is nice.
Definitely.
And of course, your forte was knitting, for sure.
Oh, I knit all the time, but
And you're always up to date, changing your patterns and changing your ideas. And
well, you have to have something new to interest people. You can't just keep the same thing going. You have
Right.
to introduce something new, just like ceramics. If you kept the same thing all the time, it's boring.
right,
Whereas if you brought a new mold and new techniques,
then new people old people came back to do the new item.
exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
But with the classes we take in ceramics, you learn how to do hummels,
Oh,
mixing colors,
Right.
and to get the hummel.
right,
That's just not one plain color.
right.
You mix and mix and mix and mix.
Right.
And dry brushing. That's all new techniques, and
right.
and yeah, was it Yadro figurines. It's a pale color with a milk glass covering over it. You know, those are very expensive in jewelry stores.
Right.
They're a fortune, you know.
So if you're ever fortunate to visit Helen, you can see all of the ceramic samples that she has in her house, because it's amazing the variety that
I've
you
given
ended
them
up doing.
quite a few of my dolls away already.
Right.
You know,
Yes, you
ceramic
made dolls too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know what you didn't make, Helen, because it's a little bit of everything when I go there.
Well, if I found something that I didn't know how to do, I'd learn how to do it.
Right.
You know.
So you're a self-taught artisan for sure.
Well, my mother taught me. I did embroidery with my mother all the time, and knitting. We didn't have patterns in those days. There were no patterns. You started knitting and you measured it on your hand, and you this far, and then you taper it off, and you didn't have patterns.
Right.
But everything my mother had in the house was all the tea towels were all embroidered.
Mm-hmm.
The pillowcases were all embroidered.
For sure. Yeah.
And I taught my mother how to crochet.
So how did you learn to crochet?
Jerry,
Oh.
he said that if it's in English, you can do it. That was his, his sisters. He comes from a large family of 12 children, his, hers, and theirs. And his sister would yap and squawk that it can't do something. And he said, oh, for heaven's sakes, give it to me. And he knit it up. And when I was pregnant with my second son, he made me an outfit. I was at the doctor's office, and he cut out a pattern and made me a top and a skirt.
Okay, that's good for this section. Right. Wow, so much information. But I just think that you are one of the top crafters that Nipigon ever had it, because you did so many things, Helen. But I can remember going to your house and there's all those women sitting around and you're teaching them all to crochet. I never did learn to crochet. So Helen is also very, very active in the local Rotary Club. So while she's here, it's an opportunity just to talk a little bit about Rotary. Helen?
Well, Rotary is quite an organization all across the world. I was fortunate enough. Jerry was asked to be a member when they first formed. I can't remember what I joined in '94, and Jerry was '91. And it's Rotary is a volunteer organization that works all around the world. They build homes, they build schools, hospitals, clinics. They do so much. They have a program, the four-way test is a fair to all concerned. Will build goodwill and better for others. And I can't remember everything else, but there's so much of it. But when we joined, Jerry and I got quite involved in it. Jerry went once to Argentina as a team leader, and he took 4 business people that were selected by Rotary and to go with him, and he was selected to be their leader, and he had to take them to Argentina, and if one was a nurse, they go to a hospital and see how they work. Not saying we're better,
Right.
just exchange ideas, country to country. He had one fella from Kenora. He was with broadcasting, and he would have to go with them. He was looking after them.
Right.
Yeah, and he couldn't take me. He didn't want to go then. I said, "You go." It was an opportunity.
Right.
Right. And he, the first time he applied for this program, he didn't make it. Another fellow did. Jerry spoke French, like he's fluent in French. And then the next time he applied, he said, well, I'm not going to tell you what my qualifications are. You know them all, but I also speak Spanish. So this was an opportunity for him.
Right.
So he did very well, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. He had a ball. He had a ball. And then we started traveling. There's a group in Rotary. There's a choir group. There's every bird watching group. And we did the travel group. So anytime there was a international convention, they had a touring group before the convention.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so Jerry and I traveled with the touring group. We went to Texas, we went to Spain, we went to Portugal, we went to, all over the place, Mexico.
Wonderful opportunities through
Exactly,
Rotary.
yeah. And then in Mexico, we would go with the club there and feed the children and women in the garbage dump.
Right, I heard about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And we took always clothes with us, to bring out there. And I didn't know how I was going to handle going to the garbage dump with children and stuff, but they fed them at a schoolyard. And they had the dump people organized so well that they had a chairperson that she looked after getting you have to bring your own dishes, with there. They had a basin of water to go and wash your hands before you ate, and stuff like that. And the club would go from one Rotary restaurant to another and pick up food, and we'd bring it out to them, and yeah. And once when we went there, when Doc was closing his business, he gave me a whole suitcase full of clothes to bring out there. And they were excited because there was a suitcase to go that we left there for them. That was,
Right.
But so we and they even the distribution of clothing there. You got a piece of clothing last week. You don't get one this week. And somebody else. So it was so organized, and the women, the Rotary members' wives, went out there and to teach them English and grammar, and it was a country that women were not Rotarians. And the first time I went there, and Jerry spoke Spanish, and you had to give your name and your occupation, and so the chairperson says, "Well, introduce your wife." And Jerry said, "She can introduce herself. She's a Rotarian." So, oh.
Wow. Yeah, that's for sure.
But we went to all the meetings there, and we went with the club there, and if they had a party, we went there too.
Right.
So it was a good exchange of cultures.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that was important because you got to travel and meet all of those Rotarians, and then Rotary sponsored students to come here as well.
Yeah,
So.
and students from here went to other countries for a year to school, and also we have a fantastic program, RILA. It's a leadership course, and it's, I forget where it is. It's just past Duluth, and the children, will apply to RILA, and they go there for a week, and it's very intense leadership course. And by the time the kids, before they leave, their friends there, they're all crying because it's so emotional, and they learn so much. Right. It is a fantastic program.
Right. It is nice to hear that programs, even through Scouts, Sea Cadets, guys, you get the opportunities to travel because it widens your vision of the world so much. And now people really travel.
Well,
really
in small towns, how do they get,
I know.
go anywhere?
Yeah. Yeah,
but
and
it is good.
those provide the opportunities that
right.
that make a difference in people's lives.
Sure does.
That's for sure.
Sure does.
For sure. Right.
And you
because you think you likely never would have gone to Portugal on your own.
No.
No.
No. Or Spain.
Or Spain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, thanks, Kirsten. That's